Welcome to this episode of Salt, Pepper, Oil. This week we're going to show you how to make pan-seared chicken with steamed jasmine rice, garlicky sauteed greens and carrots, topped with a peanut garam masala sauce. Let's get cooking. We got our rice rinsed here. We're all good to go. So we're gonna add half a cup of water to this. You're gonna add a half a cup for the first order and then about a third of a cup for each additional order. So we're gonna get this on the stove. This is gonna cook for about 12 to 15 minutes until the water's evaporated, and you're just gonna leave the lid on. Once it's done cooking, once all the water's evaporated, you're gonna take it, leave the lid on, just leave it off the heat, and it's gonna sit there for about 5 minutes and just finish cooking, and that's really important. Salt and pepper this a little bit to taste. All right, so this has come up to a boil. We'll turn it down to a light simmer, pop the lid back on and let it steam cook. Just make sure your flame's on very low, and that way it's slowly cooking in there. Keep the lid on, set your timer for about 12 to 15 minutes, and check it after that and allow all the water to be evaporated. Then you'll just set it off to the side and let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes. So you're just gonna go ahead and take the sauce out of your package and just lightly whisk it up until it's homogeneous, and then set that aside, and we'll come back to that in a little second. All right, so we're gonna get the pan on for the chicken. While that's coming up to heat, go ahead and season your chicken. All right, so we've got just a little bit of smoke coming off this pan. We're gonna pop the chicken right in. So that's gonna go in skin side down. So we're gonna let this cook on a medium high to medium heat. See how I turned it down to medium here? You just wanna have a nice sizzling on that pan, and you wanna cook it for 1 minute on each side for that. So you see how I'm using tongs, so I'm transferring my chicken from the pan or the package with tongs. And so now we're gonna season the second side while it's cooking on the first side for a minute. A little bit of salt and pepper goes a long way all the time. So don't have to fuss with it a lot. The sauce is really flavorful. You got ginger garlic in there. It's gonna be a really nice aromatic dish without any funny foo-foo stuff. So always add a little bit of oil if needed. You want it enough that it could roll around in the pan. If it's too dry, it's actually gonna burn the chicken. So you wanna make sure that there's enough cooking medium in there so you don't burn your chicken. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this now. So you see that dark golden brown, nicely browned on the chicken, and you're just gonna let it cook another minute on this side. So you're gonna add a little touch more of oil, and we're gonna add in our ginger garlic mix, and we're gonna cook that just until it's a little bit aromatic. You'll smell the perfume of the ginger garlic. We're gonna add it in right here, and with a hot pan, it'll start to sizzle right away. You don't want too much color on it. You just kinda want it to start sizzling up, and at this point, you're gonna add your sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this sauce in right in the side here. So as you can see, the sauce is very loose. So what you wanna make sure is that you don't overcook your chicken. This is gonna cook for about 3 to 7 minutes, but you wanna make sure that you're constantly feeling your chicken. If the chicken's soft like this, you can still kind of feel it. I'll show you what it feels like when it's firm, but you can feel it's still a little bit soft. You know it's gonna be rare in the center. So the sauce is gonna reduce down, but you wanna make sure that you're not gonna overcook your chicken. If you allow your chicken to sit in there the whole time and just let the sauce reduce down, you'll overcook your chicken. You're gonna have dry chicken. So you wanna watch the chicken, and then that way you can take the chicken out, you can crank the sauce up on high and reduce it down really quickly, but not sacrificing the moisture of your chicken. So you just wanna go nice, low and slow. So a nice simmer, it'll start bubbling down. But what we wanna do is continue to feel the chicken. This has still got a little bit of spring to it, so it's not fully cooked in the center. I wanna give it about another 2 to 3 minutes, check it again, then we'll let that rest. And if we need to, reduce the sauce a little bit more. You wanna make sure while this is cooking down, you're adding a little bit of salt and pepper to this. The only 3 things you need at home are salt, pepper, oil, right? So make sure this is seasoned up because it doesn't come pre-seasoned for you. So while the chicken's cooking down, just add a little sprinkles, give the pan a little bit of a shimmy. And then just keep tasting it. Don't over season, especially in the beginning. If you season it perfectly before it's reduced, you're gonna have a really salty sauce. So make sure that you're seasoning it lightly throughout so that the chicken can still get a good amount of flavor, but you don't end up with a really salty sauce at the end. All right, so I've been cooking this chicken. It's been about 1.5 more minutes. It's been cooking for about 4 minutes total. A light, low simmer, but the chicken isn't fully cooked. I recommend everybody has a thermometer at home that they can check the temperature of their meat. So chicken you want to cook it to 165, but I say always about 155, 160, because it's going to carry over at least 5 to 10 degrees. So you don't want to overcook it. If you cook it to 165, you can have a really dry chicken because it'll carry over to 170, 175. So with the sauce being almost fully reduced, we want to add a little bit of water because the chicken's not cooked. So don't worry about adding a little bit of water to your sauce because you can always reduce it out. You can kind of feel it. Just if it's bouncy, you know it's going to be rare in the center, and you can feel that it's perfectly cooked. It's nice and firm, but it's not rock hard. So we're going to take our tray, we're going to pop that chicken out and just let that sit there. We're going to flame up our other pan and we're going to start sauteing our veg. All right, so we got our pan hot, a little bit of oil in there. It's not smoking, it's just on a medium heat. It just came to hot, so you want to make sure that you got a sizzling sound. You want that crisp sizzling sound, and it's a lot harder for people that have a glass stovetop at home. I know you got to clean it, but in order for you to have a good flavor, you got to have color. So add it in there, and you just want to hear the sound the whole time. So adjust the heat. You're going to cook this for about 1 to 2 minutes. Make sure you're not getting it too hot because you're going to burn your garlic. So all right, so what you want to make sure is that when you're cooking this, if it gets too hot, don't worry about it. Obviously, if it got way too hot and it burned, then you're kind of screwed at that point. But if it gets a little bit too hot, you can always counterbalance that with a little bit of water. So take it off the heat, add a little bit of water, and that'll create some light spraying, but this will counterbalance the heat of the pan and allow you to not burn your garlic, not burn your veggies. But for this recipe in particular, you want to add a little bit of water. You want to help these carrots steam cook because they're a root vegetable. They're very hardy, and you want to make sure that they're cooked through. So we're going to let this cook for about another minute. Just make sure you're adding light splashes of water if you need it throughout the cooking process, especially with bigger orders. Then we're going to add in our Swiss chard, wilt that down, and then we're going to plate. All right, so carrots are cooked. They're still got a little bit of crispness, but they're nice and delicious and very hot. So we're gonna add in our greens, which is Swiss chard today. We're gonna add that in. Add just another splash of water. We're gonna season it with a little bit of pepper. When I tasted those carrots, it was just a little bit under seasoned. I'm gonna add that in, another crack of pepper. And just until these ingredients are wilted, you'll notice that Swiss chard cooking down right there. You even do it with the residual heat of the pan. You just want it softened a little bit. Just let it go for about 30 seconds to 1 minute. All right, that right there is perfect cooked jasmine rice. So you're able to fluff it up with a spoon or a fork, and you want it nice and fluffy. You can see how all these individual granules, they just separate. It's lightly sticky just as to starchy rice, but you can see it's not globby. It's all individual grains of rice. And that's what you want. That steam that you saw coming out of that is very, very important. That rice cooked for about 12 to 15 minutes. That's typically a golden point right there. And then you want to make sure it rests. So don't look unless you want to just make sure that the water's all evaporated or absorbed into the rice before you set it off. Do that, but make sure that lid goes back on and is tight fitted and it sits and steams by itself off the heat for about 3 to 5 minutes, because that's important to getting a really nice fluffy rice. All right, so when you're taking a look at this chicken, you can see, look at how juicy that is. It's still got all the moisture, you can see it seeping out, and that's what you wanna make sure is when you let that chicken rest, you let it sit for about 3 to 5 minutes in a warm place, you allow a really nice, moist end product. If you cut it straight out of the pan, it's gonna be dry and gross. So we've got the rice. We're gonna go ahead and spoon that onto our dish. Plate, bowl, whatever you got works fine. All right, next thing we're gonna do is our veggies. Now, we're gonna go ahead and get our chicken placed on there. Just grab it slice by slice, and you can kind of arrange it in a nice, fun manner. I always try to make sure that things look nice, right? So go ahead and arrange that chicken nicely on the plate. And the last thing that we're gonna do here is the sauce. So you just got your sauce in the pan, it's nice and warm, you just pulled it off the stove. And what you're gonna do is just kind of go over the chicken like this and let it kind of seep into the rice. Sprinkle this with a little bit of sliced scallions right over the top of the chicken. And dinner served. So, and there you have it, pan-seared chicken with steamed jasmine rice, garlicky greens and carrots, top of the peanut garam masala sauce. And this is a quick 15-minute dinner that you can get from Salt, Pepper, Oil. Most of our stuff is super simple like this. The goal for us is to optimize the cooking process for you at home and allow you to shop less, cook more, enjoy your family time. So we're gonna eat this now. All right, so now that we've created this delicious meal, it's time for us to taste it. And the only utensil I found was a spoon, so I'm gonna eat with a spoon. And we're gonna get a little bit of everything here, and here it goes. So good. Oh yeah. Nice moist chicken, perfectly steamed rice, nice peanut flavor and coconut flavor from that garam masala sauce. Is a winner. You're gonna enjoy this at home. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We put out new videos every single week and bringing you fresh, healthy, beautiful, delicious food.